The night fell like a curtain of silver smoke, rolling over the city with a slow hum that whispered of a storm rising beneath it. At first, the streets were quiet, just the rustle of neon signs flickering against cracked walls, the distant hum of scooters weaving through the narrow lanes, and a few late-night vendors packing their stalls. Nobody expected anything unusual. Nobody expected the sky to crack open with the roar of thousands. But then it happened. A sound, soft at first, like wind brushing through lace, grew into a thundering wave that shook the air itself. Footsteps. Hundreds. Then thousands. By the time the clock atop the state tower struck 11:11, the entire boulevard was trembling. They came with candles. They came with banners. They came with voices sharpened by heartbreak. They came for Yu Menglong. And nothing, not even the police lines drawn earlier in the day, could have prepared the authorities for the tidal wave rising before them. The first crowd marched from the East District, a ribbon of light stretching more than a mile long, shimmering like molten gold under the street lamps. Every person carried the same message written across their hearts: justice for Yu Menglong. And their steps, synchronized like the rhythm of a grieving drum, echoed the pain of millions. But what stunned the police wasn't just the size of the crowd. It was the unity. Entire families marched together. Teenagers left their gaming cafes. Office workers still in suits and heels joined without hesitation. Elders walked with quiet strength. Even small children clutched glow sticks, lifting them to the sky as if offering pieces of their innocence. The officers stationed at the central intersection exchanged looks, each as stunned as the next. They had expected a small vigil, maybe a few hundred fans gathering quietly with flowers and photos. But this was a movement, a storm made of sorrow, loyalty, and fury. And the banners. Oh, the banners were like scenes from a cinematic uprising. One stretched across 3 lanes, painted with fiery strokes. "If you won't speak for him, we will." Another shimmered with LED lights spelling, "No peace until the truth speaks." But the banner that broke hearts glowed soft blue, where a full sketch of Yu Menglong's face looked down at the masses with gentle, haunting eyes. Beneath it, in handwritten ink, "He gave us smiles. Now we fight for his." The police captain radioed headquarters, his voice shaking. "Sir, you need to see this. They're everywhere. They're still coming." And indeed they were. From the West Station, a flood of fans carried white roses. From North Plaza, a line of dancers performed in slow, synchronized motions, like a tribute choreography glowing under handheld lanterns. From the South Port, bikers revved their engines in unison, forming a line so long it mirrored a shining serpent weaving through traffic. Somewhere in the chaos, a single violin began to play, soft, lonely, beautiful. Its melody drifted over the crowd like a ghostly thread weaving hearts together. A young girl stood atop a makeshift crate, her eyes closed, bow gliding across strings as if summoning the soul of Yu Menglong himself. And everything changed. The crowd fell silent, not out of fear, but reverence. The music carried memories. The music carried grief. The music carried the unanswered questions that sliced through the world the moment fans learned of Yu Menglong's fate. The police, overwhelmed, stepped back. Even they couldn't break the moment. It was too sacred. Then, as if guided by some invisible pulse, the crowd lifted their candles in unison. The entire street glowed like a river of stars spilling across the earth. Videos of the scene hit the internet instantly, exploding across platforms with captions like, "This is not a fanbase. This is a revolution. Justice for Yu Menglong. World, wake up. Tonight we march. Tomorrow we change everything." But the night had more to reveal. Just after midnight, the sky cracked open, not with rain, but with drones. Hundreds of them, released by fans, rising into the darkness until the entire sky lit up like constellations being sketched in real time. Each drone flashed a single phrase across its LED panels: "He deserves the truth." The police officers stood frozen, their helmets reflecting the messages floating above them like digital ghosts. Even the hardest-faced officers felt the sting of that truth. Something had gone wrong. Something had been hidden. And tonight, the world was demanding answers. Suddenly, a voice, strong, fierce, trembling with righteous fire, boomed from the center of the crowd. A woman stood on top of a car, megaphone in hand, tears streaming down her cheeks. "We are not leaving," she shouted. "Not until they hear US. Not until they see US. Not until everyone knows what they hid about Yu Menglong." Cheers erupted like fireworks, shaking the asphalt beneath their feet. At the edge of the square, police attempted to shift their barricades, but the crowd surged forward, not violently, but with unstoppable unity. People locked arms, forming a wall of humanity, their voices swirling into a single cry: "Justice! Justice! Justice!" The sound rattled windows. It traveled across rooftops. It rolled through neighborhoods like a roaring tidal wave. In a nearby tower, office lights flicked on. Cameras pointed out windows. Journalists began to gather. Major news outlets scrambled to cover the explosion happening before their eyes. This wasn't just a protest anymore. This was history. Somewhere among the crowd, a group of young men held up a massive The streets were supposed to sleep after midnight, but instead they awakened like a beast with a heartbeat too loud to ignore. The first wave of fans had already transformed the boulevard into a glowing artery of candles and banners, but the second wave, the one that hit at 1 a.m., was the one that truly shook the spine of the city. They came like a rising tide, each group adding a new texture to the chaos. Dancers moved with fire in their steps, rappers screamed verses into handheld speakers, artists sketched Yu Menglong's silhouette on the sidewalks with chalk the color of starlight. The city, usually indifferent, felt their pulse and began to throb with them. A pair of brothers carried a giant portrait of Yu Menglong high above the crowd. The portrait glimmered under LED strips, his eyes bright as if watching over the movement. Strangers approached just to touch the edge of the frame, as if it blessed them with courage. Every time the light hit his face, cheers erupted. It felt like he was marching with them. A group of motorcyclists revved their engines simultaneously, letting out a roar so loud it made the police lines flinch backward. The bikers formed a circle at the entrance of the boulevard, engines growling like metallic lions, guarding the protest from interference. Blue smoke rose around them from exhaust fumes, blending with the glow of streetlights until the scene looked like a cinematic uprising straight out of a blockbuster film. The police radio crackled nonstop. "They're forming new lines, north side is packed. They're bringing speakers to the bridge. Sir, there's a projection on the government building. You need to see this." And indeed, the projection was mesmerizing. A massive image, 20 stories tall, appeared on the side of the building, showing Yu Menglong smiling softly in one of his most iconic dramas. Beneath the image, a message pulsed like a heartbeat. He didn't deserve silence. The projection spread across the concrete like liquid fire. Even officers who had been stone-faced all night felt the sting of emotion rising in their throats. You could see it in their eyes, tiny flickers of understanding, cracks in their rigid postures. But the fans did not slow down. They only grew louder. A group of girls in matching black hoodies began a chant that climbed into the night like a spell calling the world awake. "We want the truth. We want the truth. We want the truth." Soon the entire boulevard thundered with the same chant. Buildings shook. Windows rattled. Street dogs barked in confusion. A flock of birds scattered into the air, forming swirling patterns that danced above the protest like symbols written by fate itself. A boy no older than 12 stood on the fountain ledge, gripping a microphone connected to a portable speaker. Tears streamed down his cheeks as he shouted, "They think because we're fans, we will be quiet. They think because he's gone, his voice is gone too. But we are his voice now." The crowd responded instantly, lifting their candles higher, their cheers cracking through the sky. At the same time, a group of older fans formed a protective circle around younger participants, creating a safe zone in case the police attempted to push. But the police didn't move. They were frozen, not out of fear, but out of awe. Nobody had expected this level of unity, this level of love, this level of fire. A nearby officer whispered to another, "This isn't a protest, it's a heartbeat." And indeed, that's what it felt like. A living pulse spreading through every corner of the city. Then came the drummers. A dozen people rolled in large drums painted with phoenix feathers. They began striking them slowly, boom, 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 each beat echoing through the earth like ancient thunder. The crowd instinctively synchronized with the rhythm. Their chants rose and matched the tempo. Their steps fell into perfect timing. Every beat felt like Yu Menglong's name pounding against the walls of the world. But the moment that turned the night into legend came from the rooftops. At 1:47 a.m., a group of anonymous activists hijacked the Skyline. Using pocket-sized projectors, they blasted moving images across 4 different buildings, scenes from Yu Menglong's dramas, behind-the-scenes smiles, moments when he comforted fans, clips where he bowed deeply during award shows. The entire Skyline became a tribute reel. People gasped as the buildings lit up like giant screens. The images flickered across balconies and windows, painting the night with memories that refused to be forgotten. Fans reached out as if trying to touch him through the moving lights. A woman in the crowd sobbed uncontrollably, whispering, "He was always kind. Why him? Why this?" Her voice cracked, but the crowd held her close. Grief wasn't individual anymore. It was collective, woven through every shout, every step, every candle. Meanwhile, drones lifted again, this time forming a single colossal word above the boulevard, just as it hung in the sky like a celestial command. One officer looked up and muttered, This is beyond us." And he was right. The movement had become something larger than any authority could manage or explain. It wasn't chaos, it was clarity, the kind that emerges when the truth has been buried for too long. A sudden flash of blue light burst from the crowd as someone connected a massive portable screen. A live counter of the petition signatures appeared, numbers spinning so fast they blurred. Each time the number jumped, cheers ricocheted through the street. 900, 000, 901, 300, 902, 850, 904, 000. The signatures climbed as fast as if the world were signing in real time, unable to stay silent any longer. A man climbed onto a streetlight, waving a banner that trailed behind him like a cape made of fire. "We are not fans in a crowd. We are a force in history." Below him, thousands roared in agreement. The police captain stepped forward again, but something had changed. His stance had softened. His grip on his baton loosened. The lines had blurred, not between protester and officer, but between silence and awakening. And then, in an act nobody expected, he lifted his own radio and said, "Pull the units back. Let them have this night." The decision melted the tension in the air like sunlight melting frost. The fans erupted into applause, not mockery, not sarcasm, but genuine gratitude. Some rushed forward and pressed roses into the hands of the officers. Others placed candles at their feet. And for the first time since Yu Menglong's tragedy, the city breathed in unity. Cameras flashed. Drones hovered. The night held its breath. And the protest continued, stronger, louder, more unstoppable than ever. Because now everyone could see it clearly. This wasn't a crowd demanding answers. This was a rising generation demanding truth. And they were not going anywhere.